name's Stone. I'm here with Jeff, and we're here to discuss slavery. We all know how slavery has been taught within our school system, so on and so forth. And Jeff has a different opinion on how it all went down, so we're here to discuss it. How do you think slavery occurred, or did it even occur? What's your opinion?
Right, for us to even understand the term slavery, we first have to know about peoples like the Berbers. These are North African black people, not Muslims, not Moors, just North African black people. And what happened with the Moors, the Berbers, in the year 711, so this is late 7th century, early 8th century, us as black people, we crossed over into Spain, Portugal, and parts of France as black Africans, as Berbers. A little bit after that, we joined Islam. So we was already black Africans in Europe, and now we've taken on the banner of Islam. Now, if you go to the Iberian Peninsula, which is Portugal, France, Spain, and all that area, at that particular time, the people there was the Visigoths,
Okay.
and they
Never
spoke.
heard that term before.
Yes,
Visigoths,
the
you said.
Visigoths, yes, and they spoke Slavic, because they're the Slavic peoples.
Okay.
Now, because
Slavic, isn't that like Eastern Europe?
yeah, all of Eastern Europe is part of the Slavic nations. It's mostly that side of the
Like
European.
Slovenia, is that what you mean?
Slovenia, Yugoslavia,
Well, they were black?
Czechoslovakia. No, they was white European countries, but
okay.
they're Slavs. That's
Okay.
why you have Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, and all these. It's
Same,
the
yeah.
Slav, right? And
But am I right in saying you were saying there was black people?
oh no, there was always Europeans. Those people, the Slavic people.
Were none of them were black?
No,
Or melanated?
no, there was pure
Because
Europeans.
the black term, I have an opinion on that as well. It's something I've read up on or looked into about the legal terminology of the word black. But let's get back to the slavery thing.
Yeah, so what happened is we crossed over the Iberian Peninsula, as I said, Portugal, France, Spain, those areas. Now, we started building the cities because at that time they was living in mud huts. I know they say, oh, Africans and blacks was living in mud huts.
Yeah.
But we're coming from a pyramid era, we're coming from Timbuktu, we're coming from the Kingdom of Ghana, and all these stone building societies.
Okay.
So when we cross over into Spain, we basically killed the Visigoth king and we took over Spain. And
The Moors.
yes, but at that particular time we was term Moors. But the term Moor also only got incorporated into it once the Europeans wanted to take away the black conquest of Europe. So they say, oh, it wasn't blacks, it was Moors.
Okay.
Fully well knowing we are the same people. But
Okay.
now if you give it to Muslim and Islam and say it's Moors, then you still take away from the blacks as well. So that's why everyone will say Moors, Moors, Moors.
All right, let me ask you something.
Hmm.
What have you been reading or studying, or what made you even look into this? Because most of us, we take what we're taught as gospel. And I know that with the internet, there's a lot of information out there. But what was it that made you passionate about this subject enough to look into this? Because you obviously know your stuff, innit? You've been, like, you're telling me, like, dates and times and thing there. So for me personally, I want to know what was it that drove you? Is it a sense of self-worth, or is it like just to know the truth? Was it what was it that got you to understand or to look into all this? So
Yeah.
deeply?
So I mean, I'm Jamaican background. I was born in Jamaica, raised in Jamaica,
Okay.
and this happened to all black kid, whether you are think African, Jamaican, American. You come to that level of realization where you sort of know yourself, and for the first time they tell you you're descended from African, you lot were slaves. You know, the first ever realization of, oh, we were slaves. What? You know, so I can remember learning that in Jamaica at a very young age, and having the feeling of, they can't do that to us. Why have they done that to us?
But a lot of our African brothers, they don't really have that slavery mentality. They know their culture. They're proud of their culture. My Ghanaian, Nigerian, Ethiopian friends, Somali friends, they understand their history, their background, their culture, their language, their food. You get me? I don't think they
Yeah.
even have that kind of You get me?
No, you're 100% right there. It's a little bit different from those that are still born on the motherland. But we have to think that there's constantly new generations of blacks being born in Jamaica, in Barbados, in the Caribbean, in the Americans.
Indeed.
And we're indoctrinated to think that we're slaves and we're descending from slaves.
Slave babies.
Basically, slave babies.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is once you accept that you was a slave and you've been through slavery and you've been through emancipation, it then conditioned the mind to think, oh, so we have to do freedom fights now. We have to do freedom marches. Oh, they're not giving us jobs because it's racism and because it's this and it's because it's that. When if we take all of that out of the picture and just square ourselves off with our male counterparts, whether it's Asian, white, or any other nation, it would have to be free. We would have to greet each other on an equal basis.
So that's your end goal. That is the crux of the argument. To basically put us on an even keel with the other cultures and the other nationals.
Yes, basically that is the end goal. But
Okay.
before we can actually get there, we need to actually understand who we truly are and what actually happened. And so we don't really believe all the lies and the narratives because it really conditions us in society. It forces us to act a certain way, behave a certain way because we think we're from a certain lineage. So,
But as Jamaicans, we're the most popular, most recognized small island.
yes, no,
Apart from England. And I don't know, it's kind of like I was looking into something about the history of Jamaica. And yeah, although we went through slavery, I believe we went through slavery. We kind of did all right out of it, considering.
yeah, in all honesty,
Maybe not financially, because the bankers, the people that run the banks, the people that the bankers and the financial, the people that run all that, they're not trying to. None of the African countries really capitalize off that. They got all the resources, and the bankers basically capitalize off it. We're all slaves, really.
yeah.
Especially us in the UK. We're slaves. Like
I mean, we can accept modern day slavery and say, okay, we're all modern day slaves.
we're slaves.
But a lot of our history has been covered up, and even in regards to what you said about like Jamaican seems to be the most predominant, the most strongest with the
100.
music and with everything.
Influence.
What they don't tell us, because they'll always bury the true greatness of what we've accomplished. So you might not know about Haiti, for example. Haiti is now one of the poorest Caribbean islands. They talk about it very negatively in the media. They stamp it with voodoo. If there's an earthquake, they say, oh, it's because it's evil people.
Okay.
So they'll always break Haiti down. So I'm just using Haiti as an example. So the history of Haiti is actually greater than the history of Jamaica, in a sense that what the Haitians did, they rose up against the first colonizers. They killed them all. Then another colonizing country came in and tried to take
I think
over
the
them.
Haitians and Jamaicans are the same people.
I mean, we are the same people, but if
Yeah.
I'm just saying for country, because sometimes they
Yeah.
will shadow a country and they will push another country. So if you're the most powerful and the greatest country, then you'll be shadowed and no one will know your true history. But what Europeans won't tell us was Haiti didn't deserve or didn't earn emancipation, even though no black countries received emancipation from slavery. But Haiti actually killed all the conquerors. And if you check this out, you can research this. All the European armies actually came together to destroy Haiti because no one colonizer could control them.
So we're moving wicked.
Basically, they basically destroyed the whole army. The whole European armies combined together. So just trying to show you that some more other islands is almost as powerful as us as well, but it's just that that information got buried because they don't want us to know those things. Which then take us back to the word
But were the
Slavic.
West Africans not taken to Haiti in the same way they were taken to Jamaica?
Yes,
So it's the same people,
It-
West Africans, Ghanaians, Nigerians.
basically
that were
yes.
Taken to Haiti, taken to Jamaica.
Yes,
Taken
but
to
what
the
happened,
Americas.
if you group a group of black people together, there's always going to be one or two super leaders that will emerge from any group of blacks, wherever you put us. Sometimes it's 3 females, sometimes it's 2 males. So in Jamaica, it was Nanny of the Maroons.
Yeah.
She sort of took the slaves, run into the hills, and she fight off the white folks, and they had their own
She was
independence.
taking off heads.
Yes. In Haiti, you had Taki and a few others. So it depends on where there's more leaders, depending on how great that particular country is, depending how much leaders are there with the power.
Yeah.
Um,
So the Slavs. So what you're saying is slavery. The Slavs
mhm.
were the initial slaves.
Yes, so the Slavs are Europeans, they're the
Okay.
Portuguese, they're the Spanish, they're the French, they're all of Eastern Europe, parts of
The
Germany.
Caucasian.
The Caucasians, a
Okay.
part of the Caucasian family
Just to
is
clarify.
Slavs. They speak Slavic languages. So you
Mm.
can imagine, as we went into Spain and we took over Spain,
Yeah.
we call them slaves because they were Slavs. You see, so that is where the word slave came from. We first
So you're
called
saying
them
it's propaganda when they just show melanated people
as
as the cattle,
basically.
the
And
chattel.
to prove it even further, if you was watching movies 20 to 30 years ago,
Mhm.
your whole concept of a terrorist would be a white person blowing up a jet or blowing up a plane or doing some terrorist
Okay.
action.
Yeah.
Today, if you mention terrorists, they've changed the face of terrorism to Islam.
Arab, Asian.
You see, so any children born less than 20 years ago, they only know Arabs as terrorists.
Yeah, like
It's a switch.
propaganda. Like this is the thing. What worries me because everything that's in the films, the music, on TV, in the papers, it does affect our perception of reality. And if you
Definitely.
think about our community, most of our media is either pasa, it's gossip, it's very materialistic, it's very like sexual, it's very violent.
Yes.
When you hear like not like other cultures, their music isn't all directed towards them primal, primitive kind of not negative because it's a part of life, but
hmm
so much focused on that it's kind of like we're brainwashed. But that's another podcast though. I don't want to get into that yet. You get
Yeah,
me?
but it ties
I'm a
into
sucker
this.
for hip hop. I love
You
hip hop.
see,
get me? Yeah.
but all that ties into this topic.
Yeah.
You see, so what happened was, as I said, once they told us that we was the slaves,
Mhm.
we start believing that because we wasn't clued up to know that no, we can't be slaves because one,
So
we
that
don't
come
speak
around with
Slavic.
Alex Haley and Roots because they started showing that to us in school. Do you remember in England growing up? When I was in primary school, they showed us Roots
Mhm.
by Alex Haley, and he's a Mason.
Mhm.
If I'm allowed to, you get me?
Yeah.
Them man, they're all connected. In fact, Hollywood's full of them. But Roots made you feel like Kunta Kinte Toby was a story. You see that? You see Armistead. You see these 12 years a slave, and you
Mhm.
think like, right, we've come far. But if they showed movies showing the real thing with the Moors and the
Which they
Berbers,
won't do that unless
No,
we
but
make
if you look
those
at
for
some
our
of these
own
Camelot-
selves.
if you look at some of these Camelot films, they've got Moors. Like there's a
Mhm.
film with Sean Connery,
Mhm.
and it's got what's that actor's name? But basically, he plays like a Moor, and he's like a warrior with like he's got the saber.
Yes. And if you
They do
actually,
show that.
sorry to interrupt you there,
No,
but
go
if
for
you
it.
actually look at all these films, they always show great respect for the Moors.
Yeah, yeah.
They're the one that can read the stars and they're the one that's got the secret information.
Indeed,
But and then the other side of the picture, they'll have a black guy which is a slave. So
Yeah.
they're confusing us by saying Moors, Muslim great, black man, slave weak.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they actually use the same person and split him into two. Then that confuses us. So now we're thinking, oh, Moors, they're Muslims. It's nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
But in reality, for example, you might have heard of the city in Spain called Gibraltar.
Yeah, yeah.
That city was actually built by a black man. His name was Gibraltariq.
yeah.
You see,
Okay.
so it's a black man who was Muslim. So he was
It's not an
Gibraltariq.
altar of Gibral.
Yeah,
Gabriel.
no,
The angel Gabriel.
no. Gibraltar was
Okay.
Gibraltariq. That was his city.
Okay.
And in 1492,
Mhm.
this is when we lost the war in Spain, Portugal, and Europe. This is when our conquest came to an end.
Yeah.
We had the Europeans enslaved for 400 years. We had them in the tin mines of Spain and all throughout Europe. They was the one doing the hard work for us. But at the same time, we was teaching them, was educating them. We had mosques, we was teaching them mathematics, construction.
Yeah.
If you go to Spain today, you can see with the majestic buildings that we actually built pre what
Yeah,
they
because
call
Arabic-
slavery.
Arabic, Spanish and Arabic sound. I know it sounds weird, but I've looked into studying both of them, and They have some similarities, a lot of similarities.
There would be, because we was there for 400 years as Muslims speaking Islam and speaking
And even Patois
Arabic.
in Jamaican is very Spanishy.
Yeah, all our languages are really intertwined. We use the same words, probably different meaning. And what you have to understand as well, during the term they call slavery, we had to hide certain words. We had to hide certain sounds and embedded certain things certain way, because we weren't allowed to read, we weren't allowed to express. So a lot of stuff is hidden in our languages
So
as
with
well.
respect to this knowledge, this information that you're spreading, what would you suggest someone that is interested in getting to know more about it? What would you suggest they do? Look into, how would you, is there anything going on? Is there like a community out there of people with the same? Because is this anything to do with like what Kanye West was saying? Slavery is a choice.
I mean,
or is that like something totally different?
To be honest, Kanye West knows the truth, but because of the position he's in, he can't directly come out and say the truth.
Okay.
So
what, he's saying slavery was a job, like we're slaves when we go to our 9 to 5?
He was basically what
What was
Kanye
he
West
saying?
said was 100% correct. But because Europeans jumped on the bandwagon and says, oh, he can't say that, then black people also jump on the bandwagon and says, oh yes, he definitely can't say that.
Media is powerful, you know. 'Cause
Basically.
let's be real. There's certain topics, certain themes that are going on online, and everyone is following them same topics, same themes.
This is what happened.
And this is what before it was theatre. Then it started to it started with stories around the campfire.
Yeah, campfire.
Then it goes to like people writing stories.
The Romans
Then it
building
goes
their
to theatre.
theaters and that.
Then
and the
it
Greeks.
goes to movie. Then it goes to TV.
Yeah.
Then it goes to reality TV,
Yeah.
like Big Brother where they got a
Social
camera.
media.
Now it's social media. So
It's
we're
a means
creating
of-
our own media, and everyone, you know how people are sheep, they just copy what they see. Everyone's following on, and the thing is, we're not discussing the important stuff. All right, there are things like the invite only club where things are being discussed that are relevant to our culture and our people, but a lot of the stuff is very gossipy, very like
Yeah,
chatty patty.
No, yeah, what you have to understand,
chatty
these are
patty.
means of control and indoctrination. So when they first started with the stories around the campfires, it was our ancestors saying to us, we don't eat off that tree because that tree kill our God and blah, blah, blah. But it's a message to say that's poisonous. You stay away from that. There's another story that might say, you don't follow the cuckoo bird because your grandfather followed him and he got punched, for example. It just means the cuckoo bird always goes to a lion's den.
Okay.
So these were stories to indoctrinate the children so they don't do certain things.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Then when it went into the Romans and the Greeks, they was telling stories of Hercules and these great guys. It was to indoctrinate again their people about their great beings and their
stories
great.
are powerful, isn't it? Stories
it's
are powerful. It's a good
stories.
way to teach people through creativity and fact.
Yes.
And like myths and legends are forever. You teach people you teach kids nursery rhymes so they can learn certain things. You
Literally.
teach adults mythology so they can follow certain paths, innit?
Literally,
And
yes.
all cultures from around the world are teaching the same stories with different characters in different ways. You get me?
And it was beneficial.
Yeah.
But what the when I speak about slavery, I personally don't have anything against Europeans of today, because I know the Europeans today didn't enslave anybody. However, I know the 1%, which is the elite, which is in power, they control us and the Europeans alike.
Okay.
So I'm never really against the ordinary European in the street, whether they're racist, whether
I
they're
think they
ignorant.
control the media, and the media influences the majority of society.
Yes, but it's the 1%. It's
Yeah.
always that 1%
Because I
which is the
guarantee,
elite.
if we stop watching TV, listening to certain music, and coming off these apps, I have a feeling within 3 generations we would revert back to our natural state.
It's a very strong possibility.
Yeah, I think we would
But,
still. And I think maybe when society falls, because it's coming, recession and the globalist elite economy and all that, it's all crashing. I have a feeling when people, because what happens is poverty kind of brings people back to their natural state. They have to learn to grow food.
Yes.
They have to work in a community. They have to learn how to be a family. Families stick together because the woman needs the man, the man
They're
needs the woman.
interdependent
That's
on each
another-
other.
Yeah, but
You can't
with
survive
society
one
how it
without
is,
the
the
other.
government is like the father of the household and all this and all that. But Yeah,
And
let's
that's another way of breaking the family. So everything that is going on at the moment, that's what they use to break the family.